One, two, three.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. We are once again live down here in the Bear Cave Studios for another episode of the Sports Frenzy podcast, The Frenzy. With me, your host, Freddie Aloso, with my co host, Joey the Eagle. What's going on, Joe?
And listen, I just got done watching an intense TBT game. Ohio State's alumni team went ahead and won $2 million. So God bless America.
$2 million. Now, who was the sponsor of that team?
If I'm not mistaken, it was Evan Turner. He's like their booster.
Gotcha.
Now, they divvy it up. I think each player probably gets around like 160, 155 grand. Wow, you are being a big boy on the week. Hello.
Hello. It's late, man.
You don't believe in water? H2O?
Nope. Water sucks. In the words
Wow,
of
okay.
Bobby Boucher.
Yeah, I was thinking of Adam Sandler too. Yeah, so they're actually, it's funny because the past couple years they've passed out like one of those big checks. You know what I'm saying? Like they do
Yeah,
in
those
a lot of
giant,
other
yeah.
events. But leave it to Zelle Quick Pay to sponsor the event, and now they're sending it in what looks like a giant ass phone, like a 7-foot phone, on Zelle, and it's actually genius. It looks pretty cool.
That's funny. I'm over here. I got the Yankee game going.
Why? Like, I get it. You know, you're a Yankee fan. I'm a Yankee fan, but like, they're playing the Orioles.
Yeah. It's
Did you really think the Orioles were gonna beat them after the Yankee? I think the Yankees have hit like 50 home runs against them this year.
Yeah. They have the most home runs against the Orioles in the history for a season. I know they said it the other night, and they hit 3 earlier in 1 inning. So
Yeah, it's getting
they're putting in
it,
work, as they say.
yeah, it's gonna be smooth sailing for them this series.
Yeah, we'll get into that later though. But what's been going on, man? What's new?
What's new? Non-sports related. I had to try and fix my refrigerator today, bro. It's not working out for me,
Not so good.
bro. I listen. I followed that YouTube video that I found, that tutorial to the T. I cleaned out my whole freezer, took all of it out, laid it out on the countertops, only to find out that the screws that are in every tutorial that I've seen are not in my refrigerator. I do not know how to get to the back panel. I would literally have to snap it off.
Oh,
So
that sucks.
we're on a wait and see approach. I cleaned some coils back there. You know,
All
I
right.
got back there and scrubbed. So I'm hoping that my refrigerator's cold tomorrow.
What about maybe like a blow dryer? Maybe get some heat going. Try to get rid of some of that ice.
I didn't think about that. I could try that. We'll see. And if it
Might
works,
might
I'm
might
never
be
going to tell
something
you
worth a
about it
try.
from me.
Worth a shot. But let's get into this, man. UFC was over the weekend. Not much of a star-studded card. It's kind of one of those filler UFC events between this week and next week.
So wait a second. Before you get to that, how do you
Yeah.
feel about that? Because I've obviously they're trying to make it more, I guess, mainstream and have it to where there's more events that aren't pay-per-view to get the fans to watch more, I guess.
Right.
I kind of liked that it was spread out and made me yearn to watch the next UFC fight. Kind of like football is only but so many months out of the year,
Right.
and you're like itching at the neck waiting for it to come back. I feel like now that I have the option to watch the UFC every weekend, I'm like, this weekend, nah, I don't really like the card. Don't worry about it. As opposed to when it was more sporadic as far as the times of the month that they would come out with them, where I was like, oh, I haven't seen it in weeks. Like, I gotta catch this card.
Yeah. I feel the same way. I feel like they've diluted it so much. I get it that they have so many fighters and they have to get X amount of fights a year and whatever contractually. But it's just like, all right, this has one good main event, and the rest of the card is kind of blah. It just leaves you like, all right, I'll tune in for the main event when I get the alert from ESPN Plus on my phone that lets me know the main event's going, and boom, I'll turn it on. But other than that, unless
I,
it's someone that I have a rooting interest for, I'm not tuning in.
I also thought that 3 p.m. start in Newark was kind of weird.
It was.
Like, I understand if you're doing it out in like Singapore, another country, time zones. I get
Yeah.
it. But to have it at 3 o'clock in Newark in the middle of my Saturday, I wasn't really feeling it.
The one thing that I thought that the reason why they did it at 3 o'clock was because you had Yankees Red Sox at 8.
Okay.
So my thing
But
was, okay, they're gonna run this at 3. I think Yankees Red Sox was either 5 or 8. I think it was a doubleheader that day.
so
So the game was 8.
I'm all for them running it a little earlier. I just felt like 3 was a little aggressive.
Yeah.
Like, I'm cool with not having to stay up till 12. I sound like I'm bitching right now. I know I sound
No,
like
but it's all right. It's all right. We'll let you go. You don't do it very often, so
it's
we'll
really
let us
hard
know.
for me to make those 1 a.m. main events, dude.
It's tough. It's
I
struggling.
struggle.
It's struggle city. There's been
I gotta
times where I'll
start.
pass out.
I'm throwing water on my face. I'm walking around. I don't have a big apartment, but I'm walking around the little space that I do have from the living room to the kitchen, trying to get the blood flowing. Because if I lay down in that bed,
It's a
dude, I
wrap.
can't get to that main event.
It's rap city there.
Yeah, don't make it.
But Lawler and Covington. Covington won. Not a big, he really didn't dominate the fight per se. He dominated Lawler in the aspect that, Lawler didn't have much offense. He didn't get a lot of big shots off, and Covington kind of did his thing and held him at bay. I believe it was 50-35 or 50-45 on the judges' scorecards. So
Damn.
he basically won every round, but it wasn't like, damn, he left Robbie Lawler messed up. It was basically a wrestler versus striker fight, and he kind of dominated that aspect.
I think the most exciting part about that card was Did you happen to see the post fight
I did.
where Covington got up there with his fake ass belt,
Yeah,
started popping off at the mouth?
yeah. With
I
his
really,
MAGA hat on and shit. Yeah.
I really hope he gets his ass beat.
See, now, what's lined up for him is he's going to get. I think the fight you make now is him and Usman for the belt.
Yeah.
Now, whoever wins there, you got the Cuban Jesus waiting in the background. And the thing with that, him and Covington are boys. So that's going to be an interesting fight. Do they take the fight? That's yet to be seen.
Listen, I'm all for friendships and stuff, but if that's your line of work, you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah. Yeah, throw their hands.
Yeah, you gotta understand that at the end of the day, you are still participating in what people are calling a sport,
Right.
and in a sport, you might have to go up against somebody that you consider a friend. That's just the nature of the business.
Now, they tell me, Fred, Joe, we're going to give you $2 million apiece. Y'all jump into this octagon and you try to take each
Bro,
other's heads off. Yo,
not even a question.
we fighting.
2 mil a piece?
$2 million apiece.
Bro, I'll bare knuckle with you for 2 mil a piece. I'll bare knuckle and I'll make the octagon half the size so that there's punches thrown, there's nowhere to run.
Oh, so you can't run away in that aspect?
Well, listen, let's be honest. You're gonna run out of breath from getting up from the little bench that they put on there.
Oh,
They
wow.
put you-
That's what we're
they
doing.
put you-
Okay.
They
Okay.
put your mouthpiece up. You're gonna be huffing and puffing, my man. You're gonna be holding on to that cage for dear life.
Don't let me get a hold of you, bro.
You're gonna look like you're
Squeeze.
getting ready for an AARP commercial.
Wow. All right. All right. I see you.
And I would be I would be the best shit talker. I would be so good.
You would.
I don't know about once I get in the cage, but I'm not worried about that part. I'm just talking about the lead up to it.
You're trying to
Man,
sell that fight.
I'd be able to promote the hell out of that fight. It's almost like in basketball when someone crosses someone up really good, but they airball the jump shot.
Yeah.
So you edit the jump shot out, but you leave the nice crossover. I feel like that's how my MMA career would go.
All right. I can dig that. Now, other MMA news this week, UFC officially cut ties with Chris Cyborg. She
Which
was
means
gone.
no Nunez and Cyborg 2.
No Nunez Part 2. Now, there was another aspect to this. The whole, I don't know if you got to see it, Cyborg's social media page released a video with
Yes.
basically kind of altering the words between her and Dana White backstage.
It's amazing what some editing will do.
Yeah. And then after that video came out, about, I think, half hour later, Dana White was like, all right, cool, that's how you want to do it. I'm going to release the actual video of what happened. And then I'm going to release you. You go wherever the hell you want. We're out of the Cyborg business.
So, because I don't know the timeline in this, was the apology before he released her or after?
After.
After he released her.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, you got to kind of feel like at that point, why even apologize? I guess to save face. But, like, are you apologizing because it happened, or are you apologizing because you realized, oh, man, he wasn't playing?
Yeah. Now the word around town is the person in charge of her social media is her husband. Cyborg's very nice person, but he's very difficult to deal with.
This is why I'm adamant that you do not mix your significant other in business, because he definitely took whatever Dana White and Cyborg had and took it personally.
Yeah.
Way more personally than someone who's just a hired helper would have. Also, I have a feeling that if she had someone other than, and again, this is under the assumption that her husband is the one who runs the accounts. You're telling me he is, so I'm just going to go with that.
Right.
But you have to think if it was somebody that wasn't her husband, they'd run it by her, show her the edited version, and say, "Is it cool if I run with this?" Whereas
not just put it out.
Yeah, I'm not there. I don't know whether her husband did run it by her or not, but it's safe to say that he probably has the authority to just say, "Nah, I like this video. I'm just gonna put it out."
With it, yeah.
So, I got a question for you. I feel like I've asked you more questions in the past 10 minutes than I ever have. But so I see when the male fighters, when they get released, or they're like Mighty Mouse and they go and fight in another venue. Is there a venue like that for women's fighters? Like one that's as popular?
Yeah, she can go. The word going around is she will have offers from Bellator, PFL.
Yeah, I saw that one.
Ryzen and One Championship. Those are the big four that are coming after her.
Now, do they have the type of women? Again, I'm not too well versed in this, but do they have the type of women fighters that are going to be able to give her a run for her money? Like I know for at least the male side, you can find pretty good fighters across all the four main platforms, but I don't know if that's the same with women.
Yeah, with women in that weight division, there's not much out there. UFC has the top in Amanda Nunes.
Because I know
the fight to make for her would be Kayla Harrison. and they've been talking about that. Kayla actually came out and said that she would beat Cyborg's ass if she came to PFL.
Well, that's the type of attitude you got to come in with. But I'll
Yeah.
tell you one thing: Cyborg from her last fight, she pretty much showed that she can take a L and bounce back. There's some people that once they lose, especially in a sport like fighting, where your mentality, it's kind of you've seen it. It's your make or break. That's really the only difference between fighters that come out. They win 10 straight fights and then they go on a 5-fight losing streak and you never hear from them again. It's not like
Right.
Space Jam where they touch the basketball and their skills got taken from them.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is about fighting, but when you get your ass beat and you don't have the mental fortitude to pop back up, bro, your career goes spiraling out of control.
Big time.
Unlike any other sport I've ever seen. Like you see baseball pitchers lose a game, bounce back, basketball players, golfers. In that fight game, dude, that just shows you how much of a mental edge you need to just even get in the ring or an octagon. Is the fact that these people's careers are like most of them roller coasters.
For sure. I completely agree with you. Now, the thing that I would suggest for Kayla Harrison, she's a judo champ. We've never really seen her have to throw hands with somebody.
And Cyborg throws them
Cyborg
hands.
throws them hands.
And another thing that Cyborg does well is she prevents those takedowns.
Yes.
And she is one strong ass woman.
Yeah.
You saw it in her last fight. That girl was trying to clinch up with her, and she was like, "Nah, boo boo, you gonna take this ass whooping."
Now, Kayla
Oh,
Harrison reminds me a lot of Ronda Rousey. We all remember Ronda with, she could clinch with you, she could take you down, it was over. But the minute Ronda got punched in the face, she didn't like it. And once she got knocked out, like you said, you don't have that mental stability, fortitude, it's spiraling. And once it started spiraling for Ronda, it was a wrap.
yeah, and you saw how that played out. Now she's no longer in the UFC at all, so it'll be interesting to see what happens to Cyborg. Like you said that fight that you brought up, I think would be an interesting fight to see.
Yeah. Now, segueing Yankees and Mets right now. Two very hot teams. Mets are on an incredible win streak. They're above 500 for the first time since May, I think. They've also been playing subpar teams in the Marlins and I forget the other team that they were playing. Do you think this is just a product of the teams they're playing, or can they really be legit against, stud competition in the Dodgers and, Cardinals, teams like that?
It's funny because ESPN is actually just playing something on the Mets, and they're playing Miami. Yeah, I mean, when it comes to the Mets, I feel like we've covered this before, right? They do this. They've done this the last 3 or 4 years. They get completely out of the race, and then just in the nick of time, they start heating up, and you feel for those fans because it fills them with this false sense of hope for the next year. If I have to hear a Mets fan this offseason say, "But wait till next year," I'm gonna go crazy.
Shoot
And
myself in the
they
foot.
do have some players like Pete Alonso that if I'm a Mets fan, I'm super excited to see, and
Right.
he's gonna be one hell of a player for years on end. Knowing the Mets, he'll be out of there in 2 or 3 years on another team. But that's besides the point.
Yeah.
I think it's a combination of both, right? Like they aren't playing the best team, so they're able to stack on these wins. But at the end of the day, it's the MLB, so you do have to give them credit for going in and actually pulling out these wins.
Right.
I also feel like for the young players that they're relying upon, it's different when you don't have that pressure. When you're not in the pennant race, everyone kind of turns that page on your season. So now you can just go out there and play.
Right.
You don't really have to worry about looking over your shoulder. Um, and now that the trade deadline is over with, I'm sure there's players in that organization that say, hey, we were supposed to be sellers and we ended up being buyers. I'm sure that boosted the morale in the locker room, getting Stroman.
Yeah.
Um, so we'll see, man. I don't see them making it into the playoffs. I don't.
I
I
got a feeling they're going to fall just short.
Yeah, which again will leave them in the same position. Yankee fans clamoring. I mean, excuse me, Yankee fans, Mets fans clamoring that next year is going to be their year. The thing that sucks and is scary about that is this year their pitching has been relatively healthy.
Yeah.
So now it'll be interesting to see what excuses they come up with
What
for
they come
next
up
year.
with.
But
Right. I agree with you. And then the Yanks are red hot. They come off of a 4-game sweep of Boston at Yankee Stadium after Boston took 3 of 4 from us up in Boston. And now their next 11 games are between Toronto and Baltimore. So I expect this win streak to continue and a lot more Yankee dominance, a lot of home runs. And it's not the usual suspects. It's not the Judges and Didi's. It's Talkman and Valera and Urchela. These rookies that, given the opportunity, are stepping up and taking care of business.
yeah, at this point in the season, they just gotta hope that they can get healthy.
Yeah.
I know it's a cool story, like you said. I'm not gonna rattle off the players again because you just rattled them off, but you know it's nice that they're doing what they're doing, but at the end of the day, you want to see a healthy Yankees team with all their horses going into the postseason. You couple that with the fact that they didn't make any moves at the All-Star break, so their pitching isn't going to get any better. Now, you can hope that, the Paxtons and the Haps and CC, once he gets his knee right, can step it up and deliver ace-like stuff during the playoffs. But let's be honest, it's probably not going to happen, right? They're probably going to, best case scenario, 3 runs. Their ERA sitting around 3. I think the Yankees will take that.
Right.
So I'm really interested to see if these bats cool down once it becomes playoff time. Once you've got a 3-man rotation, now with Greinke in tow in Houston, if they're going to be able to touch up these pitchers the way they're touching them up in the regular season, because that was kind of their MO last year. Hitting a whole bunch of home runs. The only thing I will say is with players like DJ, LeMahieu, and they're doing a good job of putting the ball in play. So I feel like in the playoffs that'll come up big for them.
Yeah.
They'll be able to put more pressure on pitching staffs rather than just relying on launching the ball into the stands.
Let's hope, man. Now let's transition over to the NBA. Not a whole lot on the NBA front. One of the big things was Draymond getting his extension, getting the bag, as they say. $100 million extension he got. Between him and Clay and Steph, that's their salary cap right there. You gotta start filling in the rest of that roster after those 3 max players.
I mean, and you got to take into account D'Lo.
Yeah, that's true.
So it'll be interesting to see what they end up doing. I know this year with Clay being out, most people are counting them out, and they're obviously not going to be the same team after they lose. They already lost Kevin Durant, and Klay Thompson, if he plays at all, will be later on in the season, probably closer to the postseason than anything else. I don't want to count them out because I feel like that'd be doing like a disservice to them. People kind of forget the type of team they were. I know they had a lot of depth, and again, they had a healthy Klay Thompson, but they're not scrubs neither.
Yeah.
I know the West has gotten
top 10 players in the NBA.
Yeah, so I know the West has gotten a little, not even a little, a lot stronger with with some of the movements, like you got Kawhi Leonard and Anthony Davis, while he stayed in the West, is on the Lakers now. So I can understand why they're not the favorites in the West. But I do think this is going to be a big season for players like Curry, like Draymond, to remind people, we were pretty nice before KD joined. Like, he was icing on the cake, but we were winning 72 games.
Yeah, we won a championship before we got.
Now, the only thing I think that will stop a type of run like that from happening is if the Warriors sort of limit the minutes Curry's playing. Because you have to wonder if going into this season, I know you never want to tell your players that you think it's a wash or you don't think you're going to win a championship this year, but all that grind and wear and tear that they've had going to all these finals and winning championships, I mean, it adds up, right? It takes a toll on your body.
You started seeing it in the playoffs.
Exactly. So you have to think that they might be in a spot now where they're like, all right, do we really, like, Curry, does he really need to prove that he's the best shooter in the world? Everyone knows that. Yeah. I think he's forgotten about, because there was a time there where people were trying to put him as the best player in basketball.
Yeah.
And I feel like, he's not even mentioned in the top 5 anymore. So I know there's probably a part of him that wants to go out there and say, nah, I'm still going to light you up, like, just to remind you of how good I am.
Yeah.
Just to give you a reminder. But I'm interested to see if the Warriors rather allow him to do that, or they say, listen, man, this year we're going to put you on a little bit of a restriction as far as minutes go, just so your body can recoup. I mean, there's no way he's not feeling it with how fast of a turnaround it goes from the finals to the preseason to the regular season.
It's very similar to what LeBron did towards the end of last year, where he got injured.
No, I mean, I think LeBron definitely got injured. The only, and I say only like it's not a big difference. The only thing, though, that I think Curry has going for him is the fact that he obviously plays a way different game than LeBron. Like, LeBron is a locomotive. He's searching for contact. Not to say Curry doesn't take a beating, because when he drives to the basket, they throw him around like a rag doll. But the fact that he can rely on his jump shot so much, his body probably doesn't feel as beat up as a player like LeBron, who barrels into the lane countless number of times a game, who's constantly getting fouled going to the basket. So I'd have to think that he doesn't feel as bad as LeBron did during those finals runs that he was making with the Heat and then back with the Cavs. But yeah, man, anytime you play that much basketball, you got to feel it in your legs.
Yeah.
He isn't getting any younger.
Exactly. Now, we have the World Championships coming up, the FIBA World Championships. Teams USA's C Squad is out there right now. They're at UNLV practicing. Pop is the coach. He's out there kind of taking these young bucks and showing them the ropes. Do they have a shot to win it all? It is Team USA.
Listen, they're going to win it all. There's no way they don't win it all. But what I will say is I actually think this is good for Team USA, because you're at a point now where LeBron's been on the past couple USA teams. You had Dwayne Wade on the past couple USA teams. Mm-hmm. So you had a lot of older-ish players that were, they were running the USA teams. That it was their squads, and they had the same squad for the past 2 going on 3 Olympics. Right. So I think it's nice for them to get a look at some of the younger players, and it gives them a chance to perform on a bigger stage and help with their individual brand. Like, everyone knows who LeBron is, but now you're going to get a chance to see a player like De'Aaron Fox, who I was a big fan of coming out of Kentucky, but since he's been in Sacramento, I haven't really been able to catch too many of his full games. So I'm interested to see a player like that. Even though they're not sending over their original team, they still have tons of talent. I mean, they got Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Bam Adebayo, Donovan Mitchell. They have a whole bunch of players that are still considered to be top flight players in the NBA. It's just not going to be, you know, the household names, which I think is kind of cool. I'm excited to see, you know, players like a Kemba Walker go out there and play with a USA jersey on. I think it's going to be a good experience for him and a good experience for his fan base to get a chance to see him perform on a stage that, let's be honest, if the top players in the NBA committed or didn't decommit, a lot of these players wouldn't be
Wouldn't
on
be
the squad
sniffing it.
to
Yeah.
begin with. Yeah. So while it's not the best team that we can send as far as talent wise goes, I think they're still hands and feet above what anyone else is going to bring to the table, and I also think they're going to play with a chip on their shoulder, because there's a lot of people that are like, oh man, all the good players are
Aren't
opting out.
going, yeah.
So I'm sure, man, they're NBA players, and they're not just NBA players, they're all stars, dude. Like Donovan Mitchell is about that
Kemba
life.
Walker, yeah.
Kemba Walker is
Kyle
about that
Lowry.
life. De'Aaron Fox will be an all-star really soon.
Yeah.
You know, Bam Adebayo, they're expecting big things from him in Miami. So I think these players are going to take it like kind of a slap in the face. Like, okay, we're going to go out there and show you that we're not going to lose a step. I also feel like it's cool to see players that have been really good NBA players. I'll give you an example, like Thaddeus Young.
Mm-hmm.
Dude's been in the league for years, bro.
Yeah.
Years. It's not going to be making any all-star team anytime soon. So I think it's cool that they have players like that who have put in the time and have really, you know, found a niche for themselves to create lengthy NBA careers. I think it's going to be an awesome opportunity for them to look back and say, yo, man, like I played in the NBA, and while I was in the NBA was on a USA team, which is a hell of an accomplishment.
That's an awesome feeling. Now it's time, bro.
Dun 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 dun. Can I do that? Will I get sued?
No, go ahead.
Okay.
It's your interpretation of the song. You're doing a cover to it. It's okay. It's YouTube. It's fine.
All right. We're gonna have to work something out. Maybe I can do I can fix some strobe lights, nice glasses.
Get in the mood for it. I feel you. I like where your head's at. NFL.
Yeah, man.
We are officially week 1 of preseason. We had the first preseason game last week, the Hall of Fame game. This weekend really sets off everything else. I'm excited, man. We got our fantasy football challenge coming up.
Bro, I'm gonna do it, and I still think we're gonna smoke them. So let me try that again. All right, we're still gonna smoke them, but I might have signed up for too many leagues. I think I'm in like 5, and I know for some people do 7, 8, 9. But I really get addicted to that crap. Like I be sitting there trying to pick up players. I wake up, voluntarily. I don't even have to set an alarm. Do you know my dumbass wakes up when the trade waiver wire is at 4 a.m.?
Yes, I believe it. You? Yes, 100%. You're the person who plays Madden until the year 2035 when none of your players are in the league anymore. It doesn't
matter that I have Carson Wentz Jr. on the Eagles right now. That's all behind us. We're in a new season. Currently, all Madden's been pissing me off. I think I'm 2-2. It's not looking good for the first season, but I'm going to get it back on track. Anyway, yeah, man, fantasy football, I'm addicted to it. I really, if I could take it and strap it into my veins, I would. I just love it. I don't know why.
Just a slow drip all year round.
Yeah, and I've grown a lot because originally when I did fantasy football, all I drafted was Eagles players. Like I would look at my roster and be like, oh man, how'd that happen? I have 7 of them, and since then I've matured.
Matured? I see you.
Yeah,
you're out of the Homer stage.
Yeah, I mean, it'll still, put it this way, if I have them on even playing fields, I will lean to my Eagles bias. Yeah. Or likewise, if I have them on even playing fields, it's really hard for me to take a player in my division.
I can see that.
It hurts to my soul right here. Kills me. But I've gotten better at it. So yeah, I wake up at 4 a.m. and I roll over like clockwork to see if my
Your waiver
waiver
trades went
wire
through.
pickups came through.
Now, injuries are happening galore throughout the NFL. From the Cowboys, he got injured today.
Robert Quinn.
Robert Quinn, he
And I'll
will
give
be
you a
back.
pass. He's been in Miami for a long time, or was in Miami
Was
for a
in
long
Miami,
time.
yeah. Now,
Yo, Green
him
Bay
and
is.
Wake are both gone now, right?
I'm sorry.
Him and Wake are both gone from Miami now.
Yeah, I mean, there's only so many years you want to spend in that good weather. You actually want to be playing in a football team that's competitive.
Yeah.
And I just saw Vita Vea is going for an MRI for something. I didn't catch it. It was on the bottom of the ticker real quick. So this is this is the love-hate relationship I have with football. I think the week after the draft is the most excited I am about my team because you know that everyone's healthy.
Yeah.
Or like outside of injuries that extended into last season, everybody's healthy. You got this grandiose vision of how good you guys are going to be. And then
Grandiose. Wow. All right.
you like my
I
vernacular,
do.
bro?
I do like your vernacular. I
I
feel it.
got a job promotion. I'm speaking more intelligent now. You got to get up with the
I don't know
game.
if it's a real word, grandiose, but all right, go ahead.
Google it. Don't ask me how to spell it, but I'm telling you it's a word. So, damn, what was I talking about? Oh yeah, so preseason starts, bro, and people just start getting injured. And I'm the type I overreact over every injury, right? Like my sixth string defensive end tears his ACL, and I'm like, oh no, not him.
What are we gonna do?
What are we gonna do without his 5 snaps on game day? But I don't know, man. I feel bad for these guys, so, especially a player that's been like on the practice squad for 2 years, and then people are chirping about how he's gonna make the regular season roster, and you're pulling for him, and then he goes and he tears his ACL, or you've got AJ Green who hurts his foot, you've got Antonio Brown who's got a whole different other foot issue. I
Now,
don't
did you
know.
see how he
Listen,
got how that happened to him? Why it happened?
you said you know why?
Yeah,
You do know why?
yeah. They
Well,
came
yeah.
out with it and said the reason it happened to his feet that he got that stuff is because he got frostbite on his feet from doing the cryo chambers and not wearing the appropriate footwear.
Wow.
So because he didn't put the right footwear, he got frostbite on his feet, and that's why his feet are all messed up right now.
Wow. I would have never guessed that. That's crazy.
Yeah. I mean,
But
it's
they
innovative, the cryo chamber. You just got to do it the right way, man. Throw some footsie
never been
socks,
in one.
something.
I would like to. I would like to try a cryo chamber.
Yeah.
They're
It'd be a good
expensive.
experience. Yeah, it's definitely expensive.
I feel like when I looked at the treatments, I was like, I don't want it that bad.
Yeah,
I mean, it's really like a bougie ice bath,
basically. Yeah.
but like on steroids because it's like what? I think it's really quick, right? Like you don't stay in there for that long.
Yeah, you're in there for maybe like a minute or two. Not too long.
And I can't get over the fact that I really hate the cold. Like he got frostbite on his feet. That it must be really cold in there.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously it's
It's
cold in
like
there.
minus, yeah.
Yeah, but like I don't know if I'd really want to even put my body through that. But anyway, yeah, you he put a picture up of it. It's pretty
Yeah,
gross. I
he
heard.
did.
You look,
I did.
you're nasty.
I
You
did.
did
It was
look
gross.
like you just couldn't
I
take
also
anybody.
watched Dr. Pimple Popper. So it skeeves me out a little bit, but it's one of those, it's like a train wreck. You can't look away. You look away for a second
It's
with your hands up,
disgusting.
but you're like, oh, I still got to watch this.
That's such a first world thing. Like no other country is sitting there watching a show about pimple popping. That's disgusting.
Yeah, it's pretty gross. But
No, it's not
it's,
pretty gross. It's disgusting.
yeah, it's gross, but it's also like you get hooked into it.
I can't see why though.
Yeah.
What
Watch a couple episodes. Give it a shot. Watch one episode.
Yeah, I'll put that right under the list of banging my big toe with a sledgehammer. That's probably
That's a
where it'll
tough one.
fall on the to-do list.
Gotcha.
It's probably in there. I don't think I watch any weird shows like that. I mean, I watch anime sometimes, but like weird like that. I
It's
think
tough.
you got me there.
It's tough. But AB's out. I don't know if you also got to see the video from Hard Knocks about his sons asking him, "Hey, Dad, where's Roethlisberger?" He goes,
Yeah, funny.
"Roethlisberger's on the Steelers. We don't play with him. My quarterback is Derek Carr."
So, was this before or after the video of him and Derek Carr's son playing quarterback, and Antonio Brown's son playing wide receiver? I feel like that might have been after.
It
And he
might
was
have
like,
been
"Oh, I
after.
see what I got to do here is I gotta fix this. You know, he's acting for Roethlisberger, but if I show him Carr and that Carr got a son around his age, we good money. He's not gonna care about Ben anymore."
If you guys get a chance, I believe Bleacher Report put it up. It's a pretty funny video.
Yo, that's why you gotta love kids, man.
Yeah, man. Now, we got a little inspired by Ryan Clark this week. He put out his top 5 players in the NFL.
That Ryan Clark's a good man.
Some of
You
his
remember-
stuff is questionable.
Never questionable.
Some of his analysis are questionable. We had a brief discussion before we jumped on the air for you guys. Ryan Clark came out and said that the best tight end in the NFL is Zach Ertz.
He said premier. He said premier, so I'm ad-libbing, but premier
You
saying
interpreted it as
yes.
as you guys remember from some of the previous episodes. I stick with Travis Kelce as the best tight end.
Listen, bro, but here's the thing, right? Here's what you gotta understand. I'm not saying that you're wrong for saying that, or I'm not. But you make it sound like I'm like crazy. Like I see where you could pick Kelce. I see where you could pick Kittle, but I also see where you could put.
You could put
Ertz,
Ertz there, but you know I gotta go against you. I can't just give it to you.
Well, listen. All I'm saying is I've been looking for the Bills tight end on this top 5 list, and I can't find him.
You know what, man? We're not talking about
Who's
the
your
Bills
tight
right
end? I was talking to Danny today
now.
about that.
It's to be determined.
Oh, it's
TBD.
one of those.
TBD. Yeah.
You know, it's okay when your fourth string is to be determined, a nice TBD fourth stringer, but when it's your starters, don't you kind of want to have those locked down by now?
Well, either way, it's a step up from what we've had recently in Charles Clay, who can't catch a nosebleed.
Well, I'll tell you what. Before you go on,
Uh-huh.
Josh Allen needs to start putting some touches on those passes because my boy be throwing rifles to everybody.
He does.
He needs to just calm it down a little. We know you got a very
put a little touch, little Michael Vick.
You strong like bull. I ain't not taking that away from you. But if the guy's 5 yards away from you, try not to throw his head off.
Now let's get back into this. Ryan Clark's top 5 was 1 Aaron Donald, 2 Patty Mahomes, 3 Khalil Mack, 4 Aaron Rodgers, and 5 Julio Jones. My top 5 is Donald at number 1, Khalil Mack at number 2, Pat Mahomes at number 3, number 4, as much as I hate him, you gotta respect him, Tom Brady, the ageless wonder, who also signed a 2-year extension this week.
Yeah, but then I was reading that he could be a free agent technically after this year. There's like some stipulations in there.
Yeah, it's like an opt-out clause, right?
Yeah, but I mean, let's face it, he's not suiting up for
He's
anybody
not
else.
running.
I digress. Your 5th was who?
My 5th was Aaron Rodgers.
Okay. So here's my beef. Here's my dilemma
Mm-hmm.
in these top 5 players in the NFL. The NFL, the game in and of itself, is relied upon by so many different variables.
Right.
I feel like
offensive line,
it's
quarterbacks.
really hard to make a top 5 list of players, and I think that's why everyone's list is, they have some of the same players, but like if you want to just do it solely on talent, right? Because that's what the best 5 players
Right.
is. I mean, Odell Beckham has to be up there. I mean, if we're just going off
AB,
talent,
yeah,
right? Then a player like an Odell Beckham, he belongs there. Talent-wise, there is no talent like him.
right.
The problem is his position is so reliant upon the quarterback position that if he's not teamed up with the right guy, obviously his numbers will be affected. So, and then you got to look at it from the point of view where it's really hard to not put. What did you have? You had 1, 2, 3 quarterbacks in your top 5, right?
Right.
How could you not? The quarterback affects the game more than any other player on the field.
Right.
So
It's true. I tried to come up with a running back or
listen,
receiver.
but that's my thing. As a pure football talent, the only 2 as just talent. I'm not taking into account greatness, rings, just talent. Brady's not in there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's the greatest quarterback ever, but I'm talking about just off of physical football talent. The only 2 players you would have an argument with is Mahomes and Rodgers. But the other 3 players have to be position players. I just feel like the quarterback has such a big impact on the game that if you're going to put the 5 best players in the list, at the bare minimum, 3 have to be quarterbacks. You could probably make an argument for 5.
Yeah. My criteria was who affects their team the most.
And that's my point, right?
And in all of the NFL.
Which is, I totally understand, but then my argument is, name me a quarterback that doesn't on a top 5 team that doesn't affect the game more than. You didn't put Julio Jones. You only had 2 players up there. Then Khalil Mack. Like, there's ways, as good as Khalil Mack is, there's ways to keep him at bay.
Yeah.
There's ways to limit his effect on a game. With a quarterback, if they're truly one of the elite quarterbacks, with how the rules within the game are constructed, there's really nothing you can do. You just got to sit back and enjoy the show.
It's true. That's very true.
So I almost feel on one point of just saying, okay, I'm going to give you my top 5 quarterbacks and then just top 5 talent-wise in the league. And when you're going to...
We could do that for next week.
We could do that for next week. I mean, oh, man. Yeah, we could do that.
Give a little top 5 list of, we could break down our own position.
Like, it could be top 5 quarterbacks and then top 5 skill positions. You know what I'm saying? Because, like, another position that's never going to be up in the top 5, but you can make an argument for, is, like, what about a player like, I know Joe Thomas retired or Quentin Nelson now on the Colts,
Mm-hmm.
As just a football, as a football player, he's Hall of Fame ready out of college.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He helped transform a team that couldn't keep Andrew Luck off of his backside. He got sacked the lowest amount in the league last year.
It's true, man. We could even do that. Your top 5 O linemen, because you got guys like Lane Johnson, Peters, Taylor Lewan,
Jason Kels,
like monsters,
and
Smith,
these guys,
Smith down in Dallas.
Yeah, Tyrone Smith. And these guys are never going to crack a top 5 list because as good, like, I'm talking about, bro, they're dominant. Like, you need them. If you're building a team, outside of having a franchise quarterback, the next thing you're looking for is some Hall of Fame offensive lineman.
Yeah, 100%.
To keep him off of his ass.
And you want an offensive lineman that's got a chip on his shoulder, that he's ready to fight with everybody.
And the thing is when you get players that are Hall of Fame level, like we were just talking about Jason Kels, you see some of the plays he makes on the field, man. he does stuff people his size should not do. I know he's undersized as a
Yeah,
center, but just
the
I've seen him
way
run stride for stride with Darren Sproles on a screenplay, and I'm like, dude, what the hell do you do with that?
when he pulls on some of those plays, it's insane. It's
And
ridiculous.
the fact that he's undersized and still manages to take two or three players out,
Yeah.
and legally, like with all these holding rules and shit, you would think that it would be impossible. I don't know how he does it. He puts his damn arm out there and he just starts move. He starts moving people.
Moving people. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
man.
crazy.
So that's. I know listen. It's a sexy debate. They do it on NFL Network. All the ESPN players come out with their top five. I get it. I'm just saying, for me personally, it's hard because I sit there and again, I know you didn't put Julio Jones in your top five,
Hmm.
but the man's a machine.
Yeah, he's a monster.
There's been games I watch and I'm like, okay, he just had 260 yards by himself
Yeah.
against NFL corners. You know what I'm
And
saying? I
then,
couldn't get.
but then there's some times where he gets neutralized.
He does, but again, in football, and I can even use Odell for it. I think Odell leads the league in separation yards for wide receivers,
Right.
and Eli couldn't get him the ball.
Hmm.
Yet and still, since he's been in the league, I believe he's second in touchdown receptions or yards, or maybe even both. But I think it was touchdown receptions. So
Well,
you got to play.
him and Julio last year, they went almost 8 games without a touchdown
Yeah,
reception
and
because their quarterbacks couldn't get them the ball in the red zone.
yeah. So that's what I'm saying. For me, it's just really, really hard to make a list like that. Like for basketball, it's easy because there's 5 players only playing at one time, and like there's not as much going. It's much more black and white,
Hmm.
and players are affecting the game both on offense and defense. You know, and if you're that great of a player, position really won't come into play.
Right.
So for basketball, it's easy to make a top 5 list, but for football, it's damn near impossible.
But we're gonna try to do it, so stay tuned for it.
I would give it my best attempt. I can't say that I'm going to find a way to sneak an Eagle somewhere
You
in this
will.
list.
You know, I would not be surprised to see Travis Kelce or Zach Ertz at the top of the tight
So we're
end
doing
list.
top 5 for every position.
Well, we could pick the positions. It's our show, Joe. We could
All
do
right,
whatever the hell we want.
listen, it's your world. I'm just living in it. I'm just saying.
We don't have any producers in our ear.
I'm not picking a top 5 fullback list. Is all I'm saying.
Yeah,
No disrespect to fullbacks.
We don't got to go that crazy.
Okay.
And some positions we could go top 3 if we wanted to.
Like kickers.
Come on, kickers.
Bro, kicker. Go ask Chicago how they feel about kickers.
It's true.
Go ask
That's very
Minnesota how they feel about kickers, man. Kickers get a bad rap. It's like, bro, everyone just dogs on them. But when that game's on the line, they're like, yo, man, you're my best friend.
Yo, I love you, B.
You know, there's only 2.5 million people watching, and you got to kick it between the crossbars. And I feel bad for kickers. Bro, kicking is such a thankless job because, like everywhere else on the field, people can miss assignments, miss a throw, bounce back, whatever. Bro, your kicker misses a game-winning kick, you gone.
He's gone. He's off the team.
Unless you built some really good equity up, bro. You hit a four field goal kicking slump. Bye.
Ask the dude from Florida State. He was money in college. He got to the pro. Was it Arroyo?
A Goyo, Agave, Goya, one of those.
Agave. He's to some tequila.
Listen, that's got to be mental, bro. He was like 97.
Yeah.
He was drafted.
He was drafted in the second round. They used
You know-
their second round pick, the Buccaneers. On him.
Second round pick. Damn, see, that's crazy. The guy who picked him should be fired. He's probably fired, but
Pretty probably.
he's got a brother that looks like his twin that kicks at Florida
Yeah.
State
Hmm.
or kicked at Florida State. I forgot which one got into a fight. I think it was his little brother
Yeah, I think it was a younger one.
on the Florida State campus. But
Oh.
yeah, man.
And speaking of college, the U kicks off 18 days from today, the 6th. So when this episode is up, it will be the 7th, and RU will be 17 days from a kickoff against the Florida Gators. So we hope to have our U insider Dan Spivey back on the episode. Hopefully we can get in contact with him and get him back on here to give us a preview of the upcoming season.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for this year for the U. Hopefully they can put together a solid season. I would like to see them, at a decent bowl game at least.
I wouldn't mind seeing them at the Pinstripe Bowl again, but
Yeah,
give me a better effort.
Yeah, you were bad luck. I'm convinced they got their asses kicked.
Really? My fault, not Mark Richt and his offense?
I don't know, dude. I was pretty excited when he came from Georgia. I was like, wow, we got somebody, from the U. Had a lot of success up in Georgia, bring some of them recruits down this way, and now Manny Diaz got them WWEing and playing music. So we gotta hope that this works out.
I feel like the U days are back. The U is back on the map.
I ain't doing that. Don't. You're not gonna fool me. I need to see it. Leave it.
I feel it.
Yeah.
But
well.
with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of The Frenzy with me and Joe here. We thank you guys. Leave us comments. Rate us on everywhere you can find us for podcast. Subscribe to the YouTube channel down below. We thank you guys for listening, and we will catch you guys next week. Peace.